We're just waiting for a decision by the Israeli Security Council on expanding the military operation, possibly an occupation of the whole of Gaza. What do you think the consequences of that could be from a humanitarian point of view?
I mean, the consequences are clearly going to be catastrophic. It's very difficult to say that anything would be more catastrophic than it already is today, but I think that would be sort of the final straw to take over the entire territory and the entire civilian population and put them under military control. I think, that's essentially, a death sentence for many, many people.
Now, your report about this controversial food distribution system set up by the Israelis with US backing, your conclusion very clearly, reading it, is that it's been disastrous.
Absolutely, and I think it's been disastrous by design. We had cases such as, an 8-year-old shot through the chest and a 12-year-old shot through the stomach. And they all, the casualties all described the sort of same scenario of going to seek food, of starving, going to seek food. That's the only place now in Gaza where you can try and access food. You essentially have no choice. You either stay home and starve to death, or you go to one of these sites to try and access some food. And they were then either shot or they were injured in the chaos and the stampedes that happen around those sites.
I mean, a British surgeon in Gaza told us that the shootings bore the hallmarks of some sort of macabre game where he said the victims were shot in the same area of the body on different days. I don't know whether your doctors have found that, but we put this to the IDF yesterday and they said it's fake news, and they said the IDF were not the only people with weapons in Gaza. So denying that this was deliberate shooting by the IDF.
We've also seen the same pattern of gunshot wounds. So one of the sites we saw more wounds in the chest, head, abdomen, so people being shot in that area, and the other sites we were seeing people shot in the lower limbs. So it does seem that there's sort of systematic targeting. What's very clear from the stories that people tell us, and we talk to the patients, is they went there armed with nothing but a plastic bag, desperate to seek food. They have to run the gamut of... all these 4 sites for the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, are in Israeli military-controlled areas. So even to get to the site, they have to risk passing the Israeli military, and they describe often being shot or shelled at by the Israeli military. At the sites, there are either Israeli military and there are also private American armed contractors. And so when the shooting starts, which it often does at the site, nobody knows who's doing the shooting because it's just chaos and there's fear and panic and people start running. But the only armed men at those sites are either Israeli military or private American contractors.
So you think those sites should close and
Absolutely.
should be, go back to the previous system of the UN distribution at 400 or so sites?
Absolutely. Until May, I mean, Gaza's been under blockade and siege anyway for a very long time now, but until May, at least, there was some UN-led humanitarian distribution system getting some aid into Gaza and distributing it fairly. From May, when that was dismantled and this new scheme was put into place, we've seen this scale of disaster. It is like a death sentence, and it does seem to be orchestrated killing. It seems to be an intentional strategy to kill more people and to dehumanise the Palestinian people who need to eat and who need to access food.
I mean, the Israelis were saying the previous system meant that a lot of the food was taken by Hamas. That was the point they made. Did your organisation, I mean, that includes medical supplies, one assumes, did your organisation have evidence of that?
We saw absolutely no evidence of that. Obviously, it was very difficult to get any supply into Gaza, so it's not just about the distribution, it's about getting the supply across into Gaza. We did see evidence of looting, sometimes from armed groups, sometimes from desperate people, but we didn't see any evidence of systematic looting by Hamas. So no.
Well, it's interesting. He said 106, the ambassador was talking about 106 million meals.
Yeah, that's clearly not true, and that's clearly not true because we see the impacts. We see Gaza is being starved. We see that people do not have access to food. Even if they manage to make it to the sites without being killed or injured, they're leaving often empty-handed. So there is not enough food being distributed at these sites. A scale-up of these sites would just be another part of the campaign of essentially orchestrated killing of Palestinians. So